Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. We made it, y'all. It is the final week of the fantasy football regular season. We're talking week 14, must-add players. We dealt with some injuries. We had some issues with a lot of players, key players for our rosters that we got to revamp, so we got to at least install the next man up, and hopefully it'll carry us through the fantasy football playoffs. If you're on the brink of a fantasy football elimination, this is the last week that we can get you in, so let's try that. Bye week troubles, there isn't much left. Arizona Cardinals and the Washington Commanders are on the bye week, and that will conclude all the bye weeks as we get closer to the end of the NFL season in general. But let's talk these running backs. We lost Ramondre Dre. He is no longer going to be likely fantasy viable, depending on how the New England Patriots do operate. Zeke Elliott would be my top waiver wire pick for running backs at this point due to volume upside. Yes, the New England Patriots offense is not good. There's no kidding about that, but at least Dre was giving us anywhere from 13 to 19 points. Will that transpire with Zeke Elliott? Maybe not, but we'll see, because he is going to get volume upside, which is key for fantasy football. So if you lost Ramondre and you are in the playoffs, Zeke Elliott is definitely one of these guys. You got to get 37% ownership right now, 80 points. He's still on the board, so you can go and snag him to replace a Ramondre. Keaton Mitchell still on the board, 42% ownership right now. A lot of people dropped him as the Ravens were on the bye week this past week. Mitchell's going to have a role. They're going to continue to run the ball. It's going to be Gus Edwards, going to be Keaton Mitchell, and you can trust this man anywhere from 8 to 15 points. He's been getting us, so he's viable enough that he's going to be at least a flex running back, if not a low-end RB2. So get Keaton Mitchell on your roster. It is imperative, as these running backs will continue to drop like flies as the season does wear down. DJ Dallas, we got some issues in Seattle. We lost Zach Charbonnet. He is dealing with a knee injury. Apparently lots of swelling on the knee. Don't foresee him coming back for the next several weeks. That's a big problem. We're hoping for some good news on Kenneth Walker III. Haven't heard anything good yet outside of there's potential he could play this week, but we could see him sit out another week, which means DJ Dallas would take the reins. But temper the expectations, because they're going to be going up against those 49ers who do play the run extremely well. And that also does uplift a Kenny McIntosh, the other rookie that the Seahawks drafted, former UGA product. I'm a Kenny McIntosh fan. If he gets on the field, you guys will see what he can do. I think he's got good skills, good in the run and the pass. Kenny McIntosh is, but so is DJ Dallas. So they should do a split backfield unless they add somebody else to this running back room, which I doubt. So I would go Dallas first, then a Kenny McIntosh on the waiver if you are picking up players for the Seattle Seahawks, but let's hope for Kenny Walker III to come back. If not this week, hopefully next week to start the fantasy football playoffs. It is imperative that we get this man back on the rosters, man. Antonio Gibson, I got the star there because he is on the bye week right now, 50% ownership. He is a big waiver wire pickup for me because B-Rob did go down. Brian Robinson with a hamstring injury. Will he be out for a long term? We still don't know. They are on the bye, so the extra added week of rest should get B-Rob back to the goods, but Antonio Gibson would possess some good upside along with that other young running back, Rodriguez. They would do a split backfield of sorts, and Rodriguez would also be on the list for a waiver wire addition also. So keep an eye out for that. We will not know a lot for a B-Rob this week. It will likely be more news coming out next week on that, man. But get ahead of the game if you want your running backs. I'd go Gibson, then Rodriguez, in my opinion. Roschon Johnson, he's still on the list, 20% ownership right now, 54 points. We'll see what it is with Deontay Foreman as well. But I think Roschon, they're going to want to see what they have in the man moving forward these last 5 weeks of the regular season. Okay, the Chicago Bears coming off the bye week, and they were able to win that last contest on Monday Night Football, which was gross. But, Roschon at least will give you some volume upside. Temper all the expectations on the high-end point appeal, but at least Roschon will give you some sprinkles of volume, man. Ty Chandler still on the board, and Madison did run extremely, a lot better, I should say, not extremely well, but a lot better than he had this whole season this past week, and I think it's going to continue. Split touches in this backfield. Chandler will still have a role. They're going to see what they have in this man. JJ is coming back, should open up some lanes for this running game as well. Ty Chandler is definitely one you still got to get on your roster. Play with matchup appeal. It is definitely there. Tajay Spears, a lot of news. Everyone was jumping on the wire to go grab a Tajay, but they said because of Derrick Henry's potential concussion protocol, head coach Vrabel said that Henry is not in concussion protocol, so that drops Spears down my board as well, but he is a great handcuff. If a Derrick Henry does go down with any kind of ailment, Spears would definitely insert as the running back one on this offense, even though they are sputtering also. He is a very explosive running back and could give us a lot of points. We'll see how the season does shake down for those Titans, so he definitely should be added to all of your rosters. Kenny Gainwell, I mean, okay, fine. Anything happens to a DeAndre Swift, then we got to go with Kenny Gainwell. He did take a lot more touches. As I said, Swift was going to be, basically null and void when it comes to the running game against those 49ers, and it did come to pass. So Gainwell definitely is one of these guys. Handcuff appeal is definitely there. Chase Brown from the Cincinnati Bengals. I've been waiting for this man to get off IR so we can see what he could do. Former Illinois product. He is a good running back, man. Quality running back. Very tough. Got speed. Good. Got some decent juke ability. He's one of these guys that could eventually replace a Joe Mixon if these Bengals do not want to pay the man further. I mean, Chase Brown is definitely one of these guys. Keep on your roster right now as a potential wait and see. If anything happens to Mixon as well, you could have some good volume upside with a Brown. Handcuff time for Eli Mitchell once again. If you're a CMC owner going into the playoffs, I suggest you get him on your roster just as a handcuff. You need him just in case, because you don't want anybody else snagging his services. And then Ty Montgomery with these New England Patriots would have some PPR upside and some flex appeal based on touches for Zeke Elliott, because they're going to have to spell him out at some time with no Ramondre no more. Quarterback time. This is a big problem for you streaming quarterbacks and the guys that just lost a Trevor Lawrence. This is not good. No bueno. Gardner Minshew this week. Gardner's been playing pretty well, moving this offense around. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts are in the playoff hunt, which means they're going to continue to play football. 137 points, 16% ownership. They are going up against those Cincinnati Bengals this week, who did give up a lot of points to Trevor Lawrence and those Jags. So there is a lot of potential for Minshew to at least give you 15 to 19 points this week as well. He's a decent fill-in definitely for you if you're looking for a quarterback. Jake Browning. Okay, this is funny. Did we really expect him to do what he did on Monday Night Football? Hell no. But when you got guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and company, they will uplift any quarterback. They would make me look like a good quarterback on the field, and that's kind of what we wanted to see. While I was saying, kind of tempering the expectations on a Jamar Chase, it's Jamar Chase. So what's my MO when it comes to quarterbacks? Do quarterbacks uplift the wide receivers, or do the wide receivers uplift the quarterbacks? And then we saw in this game that at least Chase definitely uplifted Browning at this point. 10.4% ownership, 50 points almost on the board, taking on those Indianapolis Colts. There is potential here for him to at least carry your team versus good matchups, and this is a decent matchup versus the Colts, who do give up some decent points to the pass game. Josh Dobbs, they're coming off the bye, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, he was a turnover pig before they went into the bye week, and I mean, we've seen this storyline with Dobbs so far this season. He started out the gates extremely well with those Cardinals and then tapered off extremely fast, and then the Cardinals shipped his services to Minnesota, started out the gates extremely fast, and is tapering off once again. So we don't know which Dobbs we're going to get moving into this week, but a good matchup versus the Las Vegas Raiders. There is stream appeal for a Josh Dobbs, especially with a Justin Jefferson coming back from IR. Matthew Stafford taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Lots of weather apparently is going to be coming on the East Coast this week, so definitely watch out for that. Stafford would be viable if the weather's okay. If not, I mean, this defense plus bad weather is not good for this offense, but even though they are a short passing scheme offense, Stafford, just watch out for weather, but he is a definite viable option as well. 43% owned and 176 points. Jameis Winston taking on those Carolina Panthers. Derek Carr likely going to sit this week with another concussion and dealing with a shoulder injury. Winston's going to give you the 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 250, 300 yards. That's what Jameis does. So at least he's going to uplift the offense that much more for guys like Chris Olave and company. That's a positive if you have those gentlemen, but if you're looking for a quarterback, he'll sling the football. At least he'll try to get you points. But Winston is on the list for streaming quarterbacks. And then on the lower end, deeper leagues, Joe Flacco taking on those Jacksonville Jaguars. Got you 17 points, sitting on his couch, and he scores 17 versus the Rams. At least he's going to be able to move the football. That's kind of what we're looking for. Fantasy football is all about point totals, and Joe Flacco definitely answered the bell in that respect. 17 points on the board versus a Jags defense that does pressure quarterbacks pretty well, but they showed what they were able to give up to Browning, so at least Flacco has some decent upside. And then Tommy DeVito for these New York Giants coming off the bye as well, taking on the Packers on Monday Night Football. There is potential here as well, even though we saw Tyrod Taylor is coming back off IR. So definitely watch out for that as well to see if you're going to, in deeper leagues, 14, 16 team leagues, DeVito has at least improved his game enough to be on the fantasy football radar. Wide receiver time. We lost Tank Dell, man. Let's have a moment of silence for Tank Dell. This guy, oh, that hurts. I've lost Tank in 4 leagues. I am literally scrambling to go and fill his services. He's been too damn good. And how do we fill the services? It is Noah Brown. That's what we do, because the Houston Texans offense is not going anywhere with CJ Stroud, and Noah Brown should insert. He played basically all the snaps this past week. Just didn't see a lot of targets come his way. Kind of like a game off as everything went to Nico Collins' side once Tank Dell did go down. We even saw Patrick Surtain go down. So, I mean, that's where Nico's day went to a big way. But Noah Brown, 37% ownership rate. He should take over for at least the Tank Dell role to some degree. He did build some chemistry with a Stroud before he went down with his injury. 60 points on the board. Noah Brown is absolutely my number 1 wide receiver right now to fill a Tank Dell's absence. It's going to hurt, man. I'm telling you, we were going into the fantasy playoffs with Tank Dell. It was looking good. Now it's not so much. Curtis Samuel, 41% ownership rate, almost 100 points. As much as I love myself some Jahan Dotson, I mean, in this Eric Bieniemy offense, it's making the easy completions, and the easy completion is to a Curtis Samuel for a Sam Howell. So right now, his PPR upside is far too good to ignore anymore. 41% owned. You got to get him on your roster. Flex appeal all day long. Low-end wide receiver 2, top-end wide receiver 3 numbers are coming weekly. Anywhere from 8 to 12 points is your floor. So how can you hate that from a PPR wide receiver? Curtis Samuel definitely needs to be added at this point. Josh Palmer, as bad as the Chargers have been going right now, 25% ownership. He is coming off the IR. He has not opened the window yet of 21 day to return, so you got to watch out for that as well. But they need an influx of some consistency from this wide receiver room. You can see it's lacking in this past game. Herbert's not playing well. They won 6-0 versus the New England Patriots. What a crapshoot of a contest that was. But it's got to continue to uprise. They're not really playing for anything left. I mean, they won, so they're still mathematically in the playoff race, but there isn't a whole heck of a lot. If they lose one more contest, they're basically done. But Josh Palmer, if he does return, he's definitely going to be one of these guys that Herbert knows very well and would feed on the regular. So, I mean, Josh Palmer to me is on a pick up, put on your bench. Hopefully he returns from the IR sooner rather than later. Elijah Moore for these Cleveland Brownies, so he's back on the radar because Joe Flacco can sling the football. Like I was saying on Start Sit, Joe Flacco's got nothing to lose. He's going to sling the football to all of his wide receivers, and he found a good chemistry marker with an Elijah Moore, so that's a positive. 76 points, 38% ownership right now, so he should be there for a lot of you for a majority of leagues. And I mean, there's great flex appeal and PPR upside for this man here. Finally, we see a quarterback that can utilize this man. Hopefully Moore will continue to get you at least 5 receptions for 80 yards a week as we get to the final weeks of the fantasy football season. Moore could be one of these guys that we could flex every single week without thinking about it. Zay Jones, now with the news that Christian Kirk is dealing with a core muscle injury after that contest, likely out because he's going for surgery. 8 weeks is apparently the recovery time for that core muscle surgery. But can we trust a Zay Jones without a Trevor Lawrence? That's the biggest question mark that I have. And it's Beathard as the quarterback. It's not going to be good, man. Everybody's going to get a downgrade in that Jacksonville Jaguars offense, including a Calvin Ridley, including a Travis Etienne. It's all going to go down a little bit. But Zay Jones could be the guy that's a safety blanket for a Beathard, which could uplift PPR upside here as well. So it definitely, if you're struggling for any type of wide receiver assistance, Zay Jones is definitely there, along with a Parker Washington to a lesser extent. So if with a Trevor Lawrence, I think without a Christian Kirk, Parker Washington would be uplifted big time. With a Beathard, I am not necessarily running to the waiver wire to get either one of these gentlemen, but they are on the board because of viable snaps that they will take now moving forward. Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, both basically similar wide receivers right now, 46% and 49% respectively. Doubs to Reed for ownership. 115 points to 117 points. It's basically clone-like point productivity for both these gentlemen. Jordan Love has been playing lights out these past 3 weeks, and what do we say? I mean, at the beginning of the season, I told y'all I did believe it was going to be, out the gates extremely fast, taper off, not look good as more film got on Jordan Love, and then they would start to figure it out as the final quarter of the season would come, and that's kind of what we're seeing. Will it continue with a Jordan Love? Potentially, but you could definitely snag Doubs and Reed. Reed at this point for me is the higher pick. pick over a Dobbs, but Dobbs does possess that TD upside that we're looking for. And now with Christian Watson, again, dealing with that hammy injury, both could definitely be fantasy viable for you in your flex or wide receiver 2 spots, depending on matchup. So I do like the pickup of both these gentlemen this week as well to put on your bench and then play the matchups strategically. J-Mo, Jameson Williams, I've been saying they just got to get the ball in this man's hands. Did you see that play he made on the jet sweep? He was a shot out of a damn cannon. The wheels are unbelievable. One of the fastest wide receiver, one of the fastest players in the entire NFL, no kidding. And if they can understand how to get this man the football that much better, do some more slants and let him take off to the house. I don't understand why they're not employing this in Detroit at this point. J-Mo is far too good to be in the barn in the shackles, being locked up at this point. So J-Mo definitely put on your roster, because if they do figure it out eventually, touchdowns will come because he will outrun everybody. The problem is Jared Goff can't get him the football deep. That is the biggest problem that we do have with a J-Mo. Khalil Shakir and Hyatt, okay. Hyatt did pick up steam before they went into the bye week, where Khalil Shakir is going to be, that one guy that hits 1 out of 4 weeks based on how the Bills scheme up this offense. So for me, at this point, they want to see what Hyatt is. I would think Hyatt would be the more likely pickup to do some damage over Shakir at this point. But, you could pick your poison. This is deeper leagues anyway. I wouldn't necessarily trust it in 12-man leagues at this point unless you're desperate and struggling, but your team in the fantasy playoffs should have better options than these two gentlemen, Robert Woods and John Mechie. Because of the injury to a Tank Dell, we'll see which one of these gentlemen are going to be, at least inserted in this offense. Likely going to be Robert Woods more than a Mechie, but as they go, maybe they want to see what Mechie is over Bobby Trees, because we all know what Bobby Trees is in the NFL at this point. So, those are just notable additions. Wait and see at this point. I'm not picking them up just yet unless you're absolutely struggling. Finish it off with tight ends. Isaiah Likely, the Ravens go on the bye week. Everyone dropped Likely 30%, basically own 19 points. He will continue to do the take over the Mark Andrews role, as Andrews is on IR. He is an absolute must pick up this week. We saw OBJ saying, he's not really feeling football right now. It's not very fun. So, I don't know how much OBJ is going to be relevant and viable in this offense. I think it is going to be Likely. It's going to be Bateman. It's going to be Zay Flowers, and they're going to run the football a lot. So, Likely is definitely one of these guys. If you want a consistent target share to your tight end, he is one you got to pick up. He's my number one priority on tight ends this week. Gerald Everett continues to be a player in this offense for the Chargers because the receiver room is decimated with injuries, and Quentin Johnston can't catch a pass to save his life. Gerald Everett should continue to see the targets come his way. Even with Keenan Allen dealing with injury, he's only 32% owned. Everett is at almost 60 points. He is definitely one of these guys you can pick up, plug and play at this point. There is TD upside if they do figure out this offense and get better. I think last week was just one of those weeks. They will put up more points on the board like they have for majority of the season. Brevin Jordan from these Texans, he's on the waiver wire list right now because of the injury to a Dalton Schultz, dealing with a hamstring injury. No timetable of return just yet on a Dalton Schultz, so Brevin Jordan is definitely on my list. He's athletic, he's got speed, and he's going to be able to make plays. So if he does build some chemistry with a CJ Stroud, there is potential for Jordan to be a very good fantasy tight end. Tucker Kraft, he's picking up steam. At least he's being that safety blanket, scoring touchdowns for Jordan Love, and I do like his game. I'm going to say right now a little bit better than Musgrave, even though Musgrave is likely not coming back for the remainder of the season on the IR. Kraft looks good. He's trusted. He's got athletic ability. He's not a field burner, but he's able to make catches. He's got reliable hands. I like Kraft a lot, and I think his role will expand, especially in the red zone. Tanner Hudson for the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, you could pick him up potentially, but there is risk here with a Browning as well. Like I said, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins will uplift Browning, where Hudson is just going to be the safety blanket, PPR upside, but he's giving you anywhere from four receptions, 35 yards, decent enough in half PPR to at least get you some decent floor. Michael Mayer, they're coming off the bye week. We'll see how they continue to integrate this man in this offense. There is potential matchup appeal right here for a Mayer. Am I running to the wire to grab him? No. Hopefully you have better options in that sense. I like Likely a lot more than a Michael Mayer. And then on the bottom end of the list, Okonkwo, Granson, and Otten. Pick your poison there if you want to trust it. I am not. Okonkwo's only here because at least Will Levis was looking at him more as the game did wear on, so there is potential for PPR upside here. Granson's too hit and miss at this point. He's just on the watch list at this point right now. Will Minshew continue to utilize him as the tight end option, or will he not? And then Otten gave you basically a goose egg this past week, and I am not trusting it moving forward until further notice. But there you have it. That is week number 14, waiver wire must add players. As we roll into the fantasy football playoffs, we got to get get these victories. If you're already in, we got to restack the cupboards to deal with some of these injuries. It has definitely been tough, but nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. I am out.